In today's video, we will be exclusively analyzing the Notcoin chart because you have asked a very large number of questions about where it is best to buy, where it is best to sell, and what my further expectations from the chart are. And you were also interested in when our staking will finally end, when we will be able to withdraw rewards, and when those who didn't manage to stake their Notcoins will have the opportunity to do so. We will talk about all these points today. Let's start with the chart and look at the forecast I gave you 3 weeks ago. We mentioned that I expect this asset to grow in the future. At that time, the chart was not yet complete, and I expected the growth to be smaller. At this point, I had expectations that a reversal would begin and we would see a deeper correction. Let's discuss why a reversal pattern did not occur at this particular point in time and why the price increased significantly upwards by approximately 50%. I formed the hypothesis for this growth based on the fact that an initial impulse is starting to develop. What is an initial impulse in principle? When an asset is just beginning its development, it has no history, no wave structures, nothing to latch onto at all. Levels and zones are not yet formed, and there is no understanding of the structure with which the chart is growing. Therefore, it needs some time to draw out what it intends to do in the future. And the moment when I was analyzing the chart, I saw that a 5-wave structure was already forming. And we can see that it ultimately took on an extended formation. Why did I expect that we would reach this particular zone? Because this is a classic ratio of how impulses are set. It is important to understand that when we are setting only the first impulse, these are just approximate targets. We cannot predict them with 100% accuracy because we simply do not have any history yet. But now we currently already have a well-formed impulse, which provides enough detailed information about its further intentions, and we can basically analyze them thoroughly, he said, for the future, so that you also have an understanding what a selling climax is and why we saw such a large and significant movement here. When the market starts to grow, when people realize this is a new growth paradigm, growth will be continuous, it's just news about Notcoin, we will grow, multiples, everything is great, everything is super. People become very greedy and start buying up very greedily. But there's also another nuance, because the more the market grows, the more people also start borrowing from the exchange and begin shorting. How does short liquidity work? We have already discussed that when the market was falling and Notcoin was continuously dropping, gradually decreasing, a large number of people appeared here who were trying to trade on the decline. The further impulsive movement that occurred essentially happened due to the liquidation of all these short sellers that essentially occurred. Liquidation cascades mean that the trades open for a decrease are automatically closed and result in market purchases. A market purchase essentially pushes the price even higher. It is in this zone that we saw how this short liquidity works. But what is most interesting is that when our chart started to grow from this area, a significant number of people began shorting from these points, from these and from these. Essentially, the market maker started orchestrating a buying climax here. A buying climax means that all the people who are shorting are being completely wiped out. Usually, buying climaxes are the scariest periods because people start trading based on emotion, they start investing the maximum amount of money, they forget about risks, and they don't even consider that after any impulse, a broad correction always follows. This is exactly the correction we are going to talk about now. Since we actually received a more prolonged impulse than I initially expected, we should indeed also expect a not as intense correction. The simplest thing you can do is to take the expectations I gave you regarding the decline and move them slightly higher to the point where our initial impulse ended. If we make such a transfer in this case, we will be able to see that we have already achieved the basic correction goals we set for ourselves. Roughly speaking, our price peak was 3 cents. And if we look at how much we have decreased from this point, we have dropped by almost 56%. Most people denied that we could drop by 50% or more, but as we can see, we initially predicted that the correction would be at least 50%. This is classic and basic asset behavior indeed, actually. A drop of even 50% from its peak is more than normal, which the chart eventually reaches over time. The chart cannot only keep growing constantly, it's necessary for extra passengers to get off. We need to create such emotional conditions that make people uncomfortable staying. That's why the duration of the correction should be 2-3 times longer than the impulse, because the impulse happens quickly. People are euphoric, they come in and buy. When we enter the consolidation phase, people start to feel discomfort. They feel bad, realizing they are at a loss. Thoughts like, maybe it's better to sell, it might drop even more, and I'll lose even more, appear. For example, if I sell now and then it drops, I can buy back more, buy back cheaper. And here, essentially, people start experiencing those very emotional swings. To create the necessary emotional background correctly so that unnecessary participants simply sell and exit the market, broad corrections are created, which last at least 2-3 times longer than the growth impulse itself. The correction to impulse ratio is already more than 1:2. Thus, we can indeed assume that the main phase of the correction is clearly already behind us, and what is currently developing is the final stage, in which a price reversal is highly likely to begin soon. Now let's gather the maximum number of confirmations on where it is best for us to enter into this asset. The first thing we have already discussed is that the time ratio of impulse to correction is now 1:2. The second point, if we stretch the Fibonacci grid, again, this is just a reference for where ideally the correction most often ends. If we are building a hypothesis, we have had an initial impulse, the basic correction target is the 0.5 or 0.618 coefficient. So I will explain why I expect that our reaction will most likely be from 0.5 rather than 0.618, but let's also note here that this is another point in favor of the idea that our correction is already taking a completed form and is simply coming to an end. The next argument for the completion of the correction is this zone. Why are we paying attention to it? There is a pattern that when we already have an initial impulse, as soon as a correction typically begins to develop, it most often usually comes to the territory of wave 4 of the lower wave level, generally. Why is this happening? Because there is often a cluster of stop orders here as well. Why would the price be interested in moving into this zone? Because here we can definitely take out all these stops, test this zone, and only after that make an abrupt and sharp reversal from it. It is noteworthy to mention that this zone matches the 0.5 coefficient which we have already discussed. We now have 3 parameters gathered here. First, we have entered the territory of wave 4 of the lower wave level. Additionally, we have reached the correction to impulse ratio of 0.5. And also we indeed have a very good ratio of the duration of the impulse setup to the duration of the current correction. Everything discussed is not the final argument. How beautiful! When a correction occurs, the last market movement happens within it. Wave C is the last market movement. In terms of ratios, this movement should be proportional to the movement shown to us by wave A. And we can clearly notice that this zone is the very 1:1 ratio where we will have the exact proportionality of wave C to wave A exactly. And here, essentially, we have a situation where we have the maximum number of confirmations that the correction is already taking its completed form. The most ideal scenario I see at the moment is if we get a drop like this, if we take over this entire zone, this entire range, then naturally I will be buying here and I will be buying in large volume. I stand by my words. I do not change my midterm expectations that we will rise by 5-10 cents and higher. There is absolutely no doubt that we will indeed continue to grow in the future and that the current decline should be seen solely as a correction. I am recording this video for you with a medium-term perspective. This does not mean that in a week or two we will see 5 or 10 cents. This means that my goals for this project are to successfully and effectively achieve at least 3-5 times returns from this asset. I can definitely, without a doubt, sit calmly and patiently for a month, 2, or even 3, waiting for the scenario we are discussing today to unfold. Let me repeat, the most ideal scenario is if we come, test, and take this zone, after which I definitely and certainly expect to see a rare impulsive reversal movement that will bring us to at least the range of 5 to 7 cents. We will take these targets with margin. As soon as we start moving towards realization, as soon as we reach 5 cents, I will surely make another video in which we will discuss what to do next, what I expect next, what my actions are, whether I am holding, buying more, selling, and what I am doing. I will definitely be broadcasting all of this on my Telegram channel and will also be recording new videos for you, so don't worry about that. The last point I promised to discuss with you is staking. Let's break it down, talk about when withdrawals will open, and generally what we can do next. Right now, the main question for us is when exactly will we finally be able to top up our wallet, and when will we be able to withdraw all of the Notcoins that we have definitely earned that have been sitting in the bot for more than a month. 2 weeks ago on my channel, I released a video in which I mentioned that the Notcoin bot would be completely relaunched. We discussed that this should approximately happen after June 16th. Basically, the development team promised that they plan to fully relaunch the beta version of Notcoin by the end of June, so that it would finally be possible to deposit your Notcoins, and there would be an opportunity to earn profits from your friends and so on. You can also go and watch the full video where I have already explained all these points. Right now, a lot of people are very upset and frustrated because they still can't properly withdraw their money and everything they have earned. To my great regret, I unfortunately have no way to influence the developers and make them finish the beta testing earlier than they have currently planned at this moment. Here, we can only wait for information from the developers. When they announce that the beta testing is complete, we will relaunch the Notcoin bot, and all the features we previously discussed will be available to you. But we must not forget that whenever we had any issues, inconveniences, or delays from the development team, they always provided some additional bonuses to those who were the first to use the product and to the users. There is also indeed a very high probability indeed here that those people who were the first to stake their money, those who actually did not withdraw it, who waited until the full beta testing phase was completed, have a certain chance that we too might in fact definitely receive some additional bonuses. Therefore, my personal position is just to wait until the beta testing is completed, until the bot is fully relaunched, and until we are given the opportunity to use everything that the development team has prepared for us. I have already discussed this in more detail in a video that you can find on my channel. I really hope today's video was useful for you. I showed you what further price movements I expect from the chart, and also where I will be buying, where I will be selling, and my further expectations of what the chart will depict in the short term and in the long term. So, friends, keep an eye on it and make your own trading decisions. We are also waiting for the Notcoin 2.0 relaunch to finally happen. As soon as it does, I will immediately record a separate video for you showing how to deposit and withdraw money. So, let's be patient. In any case, this project will develop in the medium and long term, so we can expect a lot of interesting events ahead. Be sure to leave your comments, like the video, and definitely subscribe on Telegram and YouTube. I will make a lot more videos for you. That's all for today. Thank you everyone, and see you in the next videos.